Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So let's get started. First thing, we'll do public input. If anyone has anything to say, please raise your hand. Just say your name, where you live, and we'll listen.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
I'm Bob Harvey. I know most of the people on the board, but most of the people here don't know me. And the reason I'm here is I live at 29 Marvin Avenue and purchased the house in 1971. And Marvin Avenue, if you're familiar with it, has an extension, and that extension is my driveway. And so when I first moved there, the village would maintain the driveway, and did for a matter of 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then one of the village employees came to me and said, "The mayor says we've got to stop plowing your driveway." So I thought, okay, well, you know, I'm in a position where I can take care of it, so I'll do it myself. And so for many, many years, until now, I've been maintaining that property. And so back, I thought originally it was back about 2002, but I think it was actually 2003 or 2004. I approached the board at that time, the village board, and asked if they would deed that property over to myself and my neighbors, because there's no way it's ever going to be used as a street. And actually, they were very agreeable to do that. One of the trustees made a motion to deed it over. Gary Grayson was the attorney at the time, and he wasn't exactly sure, as far as village law goes, how to proceed. So he said, well, the first thing we need to do is the village needs to abandon that property. And so a motion was made for the village to abandon it, and approved, and it went through. And the reason, I thought originally it was 2002, but I think it was 2003 or 2004, because that's when my brother got really sick, and I got depressed, and I didn't follow up on it. So in essence, the village abandoned the property, and what I need to do is
Do you remember, Bob, did the village actually go ahead and abandon it?
Yes,
or
it did.
Okay.
There was a meeting, motion,
Okay.
seconded,
Okay.
and unanimously approved.
Okay.
I don't remember who all the trustees were at the time. Carl Vogel was the mayor, Gary Grayson.
Probably on the wall here somewhere.
So anyway,
Seriously.
it was a motion made and approved, and, but through my own neglect, and basically because I just got depressed with my brother and taking care of him, I just didn't follow up on it at the time. But over the years, I've been improving, you know, concreting the driveway and the parking lot, and I'm to the point, or back then, I was actually at the point where I'm thinking we're gonna do more, and sideline becomes an issue. So I thought, you know, this is the time to get it transferred over. And so that's what I'm back here for, my own neglect for not following up in 2003 or 2004. But I would like to get it deeded over to myself and my 2 neighbors. And there's 2 ways we could go with that. Either to me, and then I maintain, give them a right of way, and I maintain it, or half to them and half to me. So,
I would, I don't know if we have any records. I don't know if Jody was looking. I don't know if we lost some of the records in the flood and everything. What I would suggest right now is that we just redo it again, abandon, make another motion that we abandon it.
You need to talk to Matthew.
Yes. So we'll talk to Dave Brunswick, our attorney, and there's no problem with that. I would suggest that we deed over to you, and however you want to, you know.
That's great. I brought Frank Wood more give me some support here, but he's my lawyer, he's the guy that's actually.
Yeah, well, we know about this, and I know they were gonna
We've been friends
think,
for years, and I
Yeah.
spoke to Dave today,
yeah.
and.
Dave Merzick?
Yes.
Oh, okay, what,
And basically, what he said the procedure is, he has to, and I did check all the records in Delhi, and there's nothing filed in Delhi regarding this, okay?
okay,
That was in I mistakenly told Frank it was 2002, I think it was 2003 or 4.
I checked all the records.
Okay.
I have a computer subscription up there, so I printed out over 300
Right,
records,
okay.
okay? None of them pertain to this. But at any rate, and I have copies of the map here, I'd be happy to leave one, and I've got copies of the deeds of the 3 properties it pertains. Dave believes that, virtually certain that this became a street by virtue of use, that the village did not buy and pay for the land, okay? If the village bought and paid for the land, it's their property, it would probably have a tax map number, which it does not,
Does not.
okay? And the village would have to try to get money for it as surplus property. However, otherwise, they can simply abandon it, and it can do one of 2 things. And he said it's really up to Bob to speak to the other 2 owners, maybe between now and next month's meeting, and either they will consent to him getting, he's all of one side.
right,
Tammy Thompson, she is on, toward the front, on the other side, and Jennifer DiNardo has an L-shaped lot. And even though it fronts on Holly, she has, the part of the L fronts on this little section of Marvin. And so at any rate, either they would consent that it all get deeded to the Harveys, or they would say, well, we want our side of the driveway. And
Right.
either way, and then I prepare a deed and other documents for David to review, and then the village would sign it. So-
Great.
So do you want me to leave a copy of that?
one copy, yeah, one copy would be nice.
Bob,
if
is
you-
this property part of the driveway, is that what you're talking about? Like, if this is your
I'm
house,
really deaf, so I need that close.
if this is your house, this is your driveway, this is not. So this is what you're. So why would this neighbor, what neighbors are involved with this neighbor?
Here is, and I did speak to both my neighbors back before I did this.
Right.
Yeah.
Time to time, and then Jennifer said, here, so her property goes here, and then the back.
And it's Bob's address is
Tammy,
on Holly Street, and then Jennifer DiNardo, both of these things, and now with a boyfriend for KTV. At any rate, so she would have this section, this frontage. So Harvey's have all this side, and this side here is part and part. And so I told David I would send him everything. I've got copies of deeds, copies of tax bills. I'm gonna send him one of these maps, and he's gonna look into it. And
Yeah, look, we have no
I'm away
problem.
for a couple of weeks, and when I come back, I'll.
Nobody's fault, it was just things going on, everybody, so we'll just take care of it now.
I certainly appreciate that.
Well, my pleasure, I'm sorry that it took so long, but we'll take care of it. And I'll talk to Dave.
So then, what I'll do, I'll follow up with my neighbors. We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Before-
We'll do it. Okay?
Super,
Thank you.
great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hold that here.
Okay. Anyone else like to have, sworn?
Sure, probably a couple other people too, but I'll step up now. So I was gonna give a little bit of an update on that trail, as we talked at the last meeting last month there. Sherry was supposed to be here, she's not able to make it with work, so I was gonna kind of catch up with you on that. We still plan on, we don't have all the landowners yet coming into town, but as far as the village is concerned, we're still we're planning on using that section of road, sidewalk down through West Street.
Right.
Really nothing else, kind of keep it simple type of deal there. But-
Well, we spoke to Dave Merzick, our attorney, and
Right,
there
he
didn't
was
seem to be
good.
any
Right, I got-
issues with that.
Yeah, she gave me the message and everything, and you guys just wanted to follow up, just to see where we're at. But
Great, thank you.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you, no, we're good, I'm just hoping everything goes, rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah, all right.
All right, that's good. Anyone else? Okay, yes.
I'm Brian,
Yeah, you,
I'm Brian McGravy,
What's your first name, I'm sorry?
Brian,
Brian, okay.
Matt Gravy last name.
Yep.
I purchased the house on Bruce Street, 70-2 Bruce Street, and I got a letter in the mail that says that a special meeting, the village board of trustees decided to change your mailing address from 70 Bruce Street to 2 to 4 Clark Street. And my concern was I just moved in there and finally got everything switched to the 70-2, you know, my permits and license and insurance, mortgage company, and everything's finally starting to come there, and now, and so my request is that I wanna keep it 70-2. I don't wanna change it now. So that's.
We had a request from Mr. McGowan to change it.
That was me.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't request to change it to Clark. I had requested that we have our own unique address, so
Right.
that if there was an emergency,
Right,
before we closed on the house, we were told that we could use whatever number we wanted because it was a private road. So we had discussed with Dallas, she had given us a number. You had advised that that number was okay, it was 66 Bruce Street. She had said it wouldn't affect the other people on the road, which is what we wanted. We didn't want to upset people that had been there. Our closing documents say 66 Bruce Street. We changed our address and everything to 66 Bruce Street because you advised that was okay.
yeah.
Then after the fact, we get a letter saying that the village did not accept the 66 Bruce Street. Dallas could not do anything at the Department of Emergency Services because the village wouldn't accept the 66 Bruce after we were already told that that was fine. Then you had another meeting, changed it to Clark Street, and now here we are. So I don't want them, we did not request Clark Street. We just want our own unique address, that's all we
let me add
want.
my 2 cents, okay? We've been there 45 years. That's a private road, it's not a street. 70 and 2 and then 3 have been there over 60 years. Everybody got their mail for the last 60 years. Both properties, 2 and 3, have changed ownership 3 times in the last 45 years. No one's had a problem. It's a private road. You can't call it a street. You can't call it Clark Street. You can't call it Bruce Street. You can't call it Wall Street. It's not unless you violate the village code, which is chapter 43, article 3. You have to own the property to make it a street. Then you have to draw plans to improve it. The property's not for sale, it's not a street. So we want it back the way it was, as I said, a private driveway.
And that's
So
fine.
there's no
but
business on it.
We don't want to be number 3. We want our own unique number, that's.
You
and
don't want
that's-
70-1 or
No.
70-2
No,
or
and
anything like
because
that,
then I'll
no.
tell you,
So-
we have had issues, like even calling Spectrum and
No,
Suburban.
I got you,
We've
I
had-
know what you're saying.
they
I don't
can't
want
figure out
called
where
up,
we
but
are.
they,
That's not true at all. I've been up there for many years.
Mhm.
There has never been a problem until you came there, never. And my family has been there almost 50 years. Sealy's were over 20 years. That's a lot of years. Now you arrived on a private driveway and you're creating mayhem for 1, 2, 3 people.
We didn't create.
Yes, you
that.
did. Your house number 3.
no,
No.
no
No.
yelling
No.
is, yeah.
No, Kelly is not the one creating mayhem. 71, 2, and 3 should not be acceptable, and as I explained last month to the board, that if somebody is having a cardiac event or something, we don't have the precious time to knock on 3 doors before we find where we need to go.
Well, they
So
go with the
70
GPS.
Bruce Street, you can't get to 70 Bruce Street with GPS, and the ambulance
comes up Clark
doesn't use
Street.
GPS.
Oh, yes, you
No, it doesn't come close. If you go GPS, it's 1, 2,
Well,
and
when
3.
they were sitting here one night, then we
If
got
you
it.
look
they
at the
came up
map,
with
it
Clark.
shows
It shows it
Clark
on your
Street.
phone.
The November
That's
meeting when we
right.
were
They
here,
yelled
somebody
and said-
pulled up 1, 2, and 3.
The water
They're not all the
department's,
same.
They're not all the same,
They're
some,
all
well, depending on where you look at, one came up
some
there,
on
one came up Clark Street, so.
So the Massios were never supposed to change, which I had told you, you were always gonna be 70. Kelly and Jeff were gonna be 66, Brian was gonna be 68, so we had individual addresses. Everybody was happy.
No, nobody
Why
was happy.
can't Brian stay house two like he wants to?
See, so it's not gonna be happy.
But Brian should speak, he wants to keep his same
Well,
address.
just cause
that
my
is
mail, I could move there in July
He's
and,
not unhappy
you know,
with it.
everything, I switched everything over, that's only my concern.
Right.
Is getting all my mail now and my, you know, my driver's license, you know, the insurance, the mortgage company, my pistol permit and
Well,
stuff like that, you know,
apparently,
so.
you have the same
Yes.
problem
Right, you've done it
Does he
twice.
with your deed is
If he's
what?
happy,
On Bruce Street.
I don't know what the bottom, what the answer with the lawyer, what we can do.
We really
I
don't
did
care
speak
what our
to the
address is.
postmaster, and she's getting mail in at all of these addresses, and so she's delivering to all of these
But
addresses.
but see, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm saying, the village, not me so much, but the village made a determination years ago that we would be the ones that make the addresses up, not
Right,
911.
and as I.
So you know that, right? I mean, it's not,
We
we're not just
wholeheartedly
coming out of
understand
the blue
that,
one.
but precedence has been set by us coming in and doing other addressing in the village over the last 20 years. We went to 911 in the year 2000, and we've done addresses, we've changed addresses, we've corrected addresses, we've done new addressing in the village over those 20 years. So little did we expect for this kind of reaction
Right.
when we fixed a problem. We understand that you're the bottom line, so whatever you say, we have to follow.
Right.
But if you're telling us 911 cannot address in your village, from now on, it's all gonna end up on your lap. We are gonna be bound that you do not want us in your village.
Why did 911 not have a problem with 1, 2, and 3 20 years ago?
Because nobody questioned it.
Thank you.
And the village of
It's never been a
Walton,
problem.
we would have changed it had we been allowed in the village.
Yeah.
911 addressing was not allowed to
But
address
you
the
would have
village of
changed
Walton.
it to a
We
different.
would have changed it if, had we been allowed in, just like we did the rest of the county.
Right.
Yeah, but 66 and 68, our address is Lot Street on Bruce Street.
You're on Bruce Street, but the other two houses really aren't on Bruce Street,
yes.
technically. They're
Right.
behind,
They're
I don't know what you wanna
Well-
call it.
Well, the deed, 70 Bruce Street, that's a private driveway.
Right.
Past that, we give right away to the
I
number 2,
understand that,
and he
but-
gives right away to number 3.
It's all
So it's all private road.
70.
Yeah, but they don't want number 2 and number 3, well, maybe he does, but they
Yeah,
don't.
I just wanna keep mine, so that my stuff just goes there. It's
Get
my
a
own
PO box.
I don't know,
It's not about a PO box, it's not about the mail. If I'm laying in a pool of blood at the bottom of my stairs, I would like my son to be able to call 911 and be able to direct them where to come to get me.
Well,
It's
how
not
they-
about mail.
Well, they're never gonna find you at, what's it?
They absolutely will.
2 Clark Street?
On MapQuest, it shows us now as 2 Clark Street.
No, it
On
There's
Google,
no-
on
There's
Google
not
Maps,
gonna
it
be a
shows
Clark
us as
There's no
66 Bruce Street.
intersection, there's no intersection on the
it
road.
doesn't matter,
It doesn't
our
matter.
attorney said to you at the last meeting when you were here, that we allowed, you say the code says, no, our attorney said that we can do what we
Wait,
did.
your attorney said what?
You
We're
can't
not
call
taking the
it
street, no, but we can. they
Your
can-
attorney
they-
wasn't here at the meeting.
numbers, yes.
Our
what
attorney
you
was
want.
here,
But not Clark Street.
December.
last month, he was here. And he didn't
Not
talk
according to
about
the
it.
minutes.
He was here.
He said he wasn't at the meeting.
Minutes
There's
say he
no-
wasn't there.
He said he wasn't at the meeting.
Was it in November?
No, he was in
no,
December.
he was here in December.
He was here in December. So
That's
I
right, yeah,
don't.
he was talking about the party and stuff.
Right. So, I don't know what,
Well, also, is it true that you can't, I was just reading your letter here, you gotta have at least 3 houses to call it a street?
If they're gonna go by NINA standards, but they're saying they're not abiding by the 911 standard. So apparently they have no rules, just like I had explained to you, and we had explained in an email that ending Clark Street somewhere between your driveway and Brian's driveway really doesn't make sense because you're not meeting it at an intersection.
Yeah, how
So
does
you
an
can't put up
ambulance
a
find
street
Clark
sign.
Street
Wait, is
when there's
that,
only 2
Yeah,
houses?
I
I
and
think
there's
you
no-
should ask the mayor, is that Clark coming on?
so, it's kinda hard to make everybody happy when everybody wants different addresses.
No,
You know,
we,
you-
no,
no,
we
you
don't
want 70
No,
Bruce,
no, you're
he
wrong.
wants 70, I am not wrong.
No,
Let me
you are
finish what I'm
wrong. Not
saying.
everyone wants a change. This young man is very
Yeah, but
upset.
she wants to change.
That's okay, she has a right to change her number, but you can't call a private road a street.
You can't do that.
Fine, then we
Mayor's,
can,
no,
we can
you
still
can't.
change.
No, you can't. You can't call it a
All right,
street.
then the attorney says we can.
The
so.
attorney
Based
doesn't
on
know
what?
what, on what? You can take private property, this
We're
young
not
man's
taking- we're not
private
taking
property,
anybody's
call it a
property.
street? No, you can't. A street's a street.
Well,
You have to buy a street.
Not
you
the one was
can't.
the one that sent us the original letter on this, right? You
What's
guys-
that?
That's okay.
Did you send us the original letter with the address?
I never sent anything when
Somebody
I asked last
Why don't
month
you
where it
do
came
this?
from. I believe Kelly dropped it off, the original one, the original letter came that we had sent to her,
Somebody
showing
need
her
to
as
talk to Dave Rosing about
66.
this and see
Yes,
what-
that's
what the-
okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're gonna have to go, hello, attorney, and see what the best solution we can
So
come up
you're,
with. I
you're
can't do
happy
this right
with
this
it
moment.
being Bruce Street,
Yeah,
and
oh,
if she can be
definitely.
66.
Any number she
I
would
would,
like.
yeah,
It's
we
okay.
don't care what we're told, we just want our own
Numbers are not a
distinct
problem.
number, that's all we want. And I honestly, I don't want to make
No, he
a
means
fourth
he-
change to our address,
Correct.
You know,
because it's costing us
Will,
time and money.
the only thing I can do is just say,
So I don't care
we'll
what
get a
you
hold of
guys
the
decide.
attorney, we'll talk to him and try and figure out the best way to work it, and we'll come to the next meeting, we'll
Can
figure
we
something out.
okay, so this could take like another month to determine this? Okay, because we have, I mean, right now, we have 3 different addresses floating out there for us, because of all the changes that
Is your-
we've been told.
And the postmaster won't change your address for you. She's
Correct.
currently delivering, you know, for
Right.
all 3, but she won't officially change
Right.
it with the postal service until they hear from us.
So your attorney is bypassing, what is it, Article
He
43?
don't bypass, he doesn't there must be a way that we can do it, he's not bypassing, he does municipal law for a living, that's what he does, he's not just a.
No, I understand that.
He's been doing it
Code,
for
the
40
code
years.
is the code, you can't call it a street.
I don't know the exact reasoning of it, I will speak to him, we will get the right terminology of it, and we'll do the right way that has to be done.
Isn't
That's
it
all.
Bruce Street right now?
No, it's not.
Or what is it?
It's a private drive.
So,
Where 70 Bruce Street. That's a private
It's a
drive
street.
off of Bruce Street to the house, and then it goes
So,
past us.
but so what's
and we get
what's the
right
two
away.
houses behind it, they're all 70 Bruce?
That's
41?
correct. They're on right of ways.
So they're all Bruce Street then,
Correct.
Because the way the lots go, Mayor.
but they're still Bruce Street, that's the
Yeah.
point
It's
I'm
still
trying to get.
70 Bruce Street, not.
But it's still Bruce Street.
But if the third house wants to change a number, they have a right to change a number, talk to the post office.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
All I can-
Mayor, I just have a quick question. What are you doing, how did Clark Street come about?
that's what the
It's-
street was originally called.
No,
No,
that's
no,
not.
it's not.
According to
Yes,
the
it was,
maps,
we have it
yes,
in
it
records
was.
that
That's
it
a
was
tax
years
map.
ago.
And
That's
when
a
was
tax.
it changed over to Bruce Street?
That's a tax map
See?
called Clark Street. It's never been improved. And
Yeah.
I've been told that.
It's not a
and-
street that
and
we
in
own
writing
or
as
anything
well.
like that, it was a name that was given whenever, it wasn't,
And then,
we didn't
sir,
come up
when
with
did
it.
it change over to Bruce? 70 years ago.
Yeah, a long
So it's
time
been
ago.
consistent.
Right, I'll get a hold of the attorney, we'll figure the best way to do it.
But I just wanna ask, how did he get the address Clark Street? Where did that come from? Because no one is wanting it. I mean, numbers are
It
important.
came up years ago as Clark Street, and that's how we just were gonna use it, because it came up in one of the GPSs, I know the other ones it didn't, then we figured that would be the easiest way to do it, but obviously it's not. So, I can't say unless I talk to the attorney, find out the best way to do it, and we'll be in touch with you. Is that, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but that's, I'm not an attorney.
That's
I
all,
don't
We
we
know.
were
just,
told
we
at
just
the
want a
November
distinct number,
meeting
that's it.
that before anything was decided, we were gonna be notified to discuss it. That never happened. You had a special meeting on December 5th, and you made your own
That's
decision
our
without
ordinary
us.
meeting, it wasn't a special meeting, that's our ordinary.
December 5th was a
At 10 in
special
the
meeting.
morning?
It's, oh,
That was a special
okay,
meeting.
yeah, that was, sorry.
We will not make any more decisions unless we know that you're here and we'll discuss it.
That would be nice.
I promise you that. I'm on camera, so you'll know. Okay? Okay, so we'll get back on that. It's just, cause we got 3 different, we gotta just figure the best way of doing it.
Can I ask you, why isn't the December 3rd meeting?
I think I told you this before privately,
Yeah.
the guy that was doing it has been,
Not the same
not
guy?
this guy, it was a different guy. The school has been closed, they're college kids, they're away,
graduated.
you know, so, we'll
Took
we'll
the
get it,
evidence
we'll
with
get
him.
it online, but, just so you know,
Mhm.
we don't have to put it online, we don't
Yeah.
have to do a video, we do this for the convenience. That started when I first became mayor, that we put
Yeah.
everything online, because I want everybody to see we're transparent and see what's going on. So, it will be there.
Okay.
We'll talk to him tonight and see if we can get a hold of it and put it there.
Mayor Snow,
Yes.
another question. If they were to use 66 Bruce, What if 66 is used already on Bruce Street?
It's not.
It's not.
Oh, they,
It's not.
oh, okay.
Uh,
So I'm
I
saying,
think
how
I
do you
remember.
pick a
We're
number?
not gonna duplicate the address.
Yeah.
Isn't 68 that carriage house that's at the foot of the
Yes, it is,
driveway?
yep, yes, it
That's
is,
used.
yes, it is. So I will speak to the attorney, and we won't do anything until we let you all know, and we'll come down and try and figure this out, okay? Okay. Next.
Paul Wood, 3 Camp Ave, and Mayor Snow, you gave me 20 minutes this morning, and then you followed up subsequently to a conversation we had pertaining to a water bill on the corner of Mead and Townsend earlier, that actually, it's my wife's uncle, so I was just coincidentally at a meeting in July when you gave, due to certain extenuating circumstances, an extension on the bill for 6 months. And a letter was sent to follow up on that that said that the July bill was due on January 4th, 2019. It had to be paid in its entirety, and no partial payment could be accepted. At that point, there was a large usage and a usage event, and it couldn't be identified. There was no leak in the house, anything like that. So you gave an extension. They weren't arguing about sewer charges, anything like that, just a large bill. And they were anticipating having the house on the market in the summer, being able to clear that up. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The house is now on the market for sale. My mother-in-law came in to clear up the bill on the 4th last Friday and presented payment, to my understanding, for the amount of the July bill. And it wasn't accepted because it was considered to be a partial payment. And there were no, she didn't have the late fees that were subsequently added to the bill. So I guess she just wants to know the amount that she has to pay. It was her understanding that there weren't going to be late charges as a result, and if there were, I mean, she's loaning her brother the money. She would have just done it in July and paid the bill rather than waiting till January. So
You know, Paul, when you talked to me this morning, there were 2 things in my mind we were talking about. 'Cause number one was, I wasn't thinking about this letter. I was thinking about when we lost through the post office, they couldn't find.
right, the last cycle bill,
the December, October's mailing, and that's why we said there'd be no penalties
Right.
for anybody. Yours does go back to July. We didn't specify in the letter whether or not we were gonna charge penalties, we just can't assume, but I guess we didn't even think about it, that there were gonna be penalties. I mean, normally that's what happens, the penalties come after, because what would have happened if we didn't agree to extend for 6 months, the water would have been turned off. That's what we do to a lot of people. So out of the courtesy, we were trying to let it stay and give them more time to pay the bill.
right.
So,
And
there were, by the way, just so you know, there were no penalties assessed after October. Everybody got a break on that one, we had no
Right.
penalties. So the penalties she got were before the October billing, it would be between July, August, September, that type of thing.
right, and my only concern is the fact that it said pay the July balance, not July balance and any subsequent fees
Right.
incurred or anything. And again, she drove down from Rochester, or Geneseo, this past Friday to make that payment, so he wouldn't have his water shut off, and loaned him the money. I mean, she would have just done that in July. I mean, instead of writing the letter, she would have just.
I asked them not to shut up till we straighten this out, so I already
Right.
put the word, so that.
Right, and so that's why she drove down. She wanted to make sure that it was paid. Again, due to personal and other reasons, it didn't get listed this summer, but I mean, the letter states pretty plainly July statement balance, or the amount shown on the July bill, so. I mean, that's,
How much is the difference on the penalty?
it's about $500 is my understanding.
It went from 2405 to 2839, correct?
The first would have been 10%, and then the second one would have been 15.
Yeah. It went from 24, if it would have been paid from July, it would have been 2405, and with the penalties, it made it 2839. So I need some input here. What do you guys wanna do? Seems to me we have only one of two choices. Either tell her that this is the amount that she's gotta pay, or stay with the originally what you said about July, was gonna be the July billing amount, or the original, so I don't know what the board wants to do.
Yeah, because the exact language was 6 months to completely pay the balance
I
of the
got it,
bill
yeah.
that was generated from
I got
July. Yeah. So,
If she had the money, why didn't she just pay it in July?
because it's her brother's house, and she was hoping, she was trying to convince him to put it on the market in the summer, but it needed some improvements and things like that. It's now on the market, but she was hoping, honestly, he was gonna auction it off in August. And then it would have been satisfied pretty much immediately. She was hoping that he would have been able to save the money by now and possibly pay it off himself. She could have paid it then. I mean, it wasn't a function, I mean, they're in a position to do that. She's lent him money in the past and is able to.
You were just hoping they would sell it before then, so. that-
Right, to make it, and because it was $2,400, I mean, she, I don't know.
I'm thinking if the letter doesn't state anything about the penalties, then we should at least let them pay the balance of what's due.
I don't understand, because what is due on the account has the penalties in, just so we're on
Oh,
the
so you
same
can't
train of
see
thought.
The 2,400 had the penalties
What
on
are you
it?
saying, Steve, you want the original amount that we said 6 months ago, 2405,
Because
without,
the letter doesn't
without the
state
latest
it,
penalties?
it doesn't say anything in there about penalties, just pay the balance off
Right,
in 6 months.
so you making a suggestion, I'm making a motion?
Yeah. Make a
What's your motion, make the motion clear so we can put it down, please.
Make a motion that we have them pay the bill,
The July
the
amount?
July amount. because we-
2405,
Yeah, because
46.
the letter doesn't state anything about penalties.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
So,
then we need, right?
No.
No, 2 to 1's right, okay. There we go, no problem. Okay, so that's it, tell her that 2405.46 is the amount, come down and take care of it, it'll be done. Okay?
Is there, just, I don't wanna be here next month, but is there a date by which?
She'll be here, she had that amount on
Yeah.
the check on Friday, and she was ready to pay it, but that would have represented a partial amount.
She will be here.
So, she'll be here tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay,
Oh,
she'll be here
okay.
tomorrow.
She'll be here
Okay.
tomorrow, she's,
Okay.
Mayor Snow, just want to add a footnote to our conversation. We object to any address called street on that private driveway, Clark, Bruce, or otherwise. So just note that for your attorney.
So
You-
what would your suggestion be then?
Leave it
want
the
to
way
leave
it
it
has
the way it
been
is.
for over 60 years.
But it's
Well,
Bruce
but-
Street
My
right now.
question is.
No, it's not Bruce Street.
What is it? What are you saying
Bruce
it
Street.
is?
Bruce Street is Bruce Street. We are 70 Bruce Street, a private drive off of Bruce Street, private.
So what's their address? They don't have a Bruce Street, they just have
They do, house three.
70-1
2 and
Pine
3.
Street?
So we're just called house number 3?
That's
Well,
right.
That's
you
correct.
don't use house.
70
Yeah.
Bruce Street 3.
Well, I can tell you that much, it's not gonna stay that way, because these people deserve to have a street with their name. They're not gonna be just called, oh, you're number
Kelly
70-1.
McGowan, 70-3
blank.
Walton, New York.
No,
That
they're gonna
doesn't
have a
even
street
make
with their
sense.
name, with an address on it.
Can I have a street?
Well, maybe they should have thought about that when they bought the property.
We did.
You know, with this,
Our
we'll
deed
speak to the
says
attorney,
that.
we'll speak to the
deed says
attorney.
what?
we'll
66
come-
Bruce Street.
Excuse
How,
me,
how can your deed say 66 Bruce Street when it doesn't exist? 66 Bruce Street is out on Bruce Street, not on this private drive.
we will speak to the attorney, we will come up with your place is not going to be changed. Matter of fact, we got a letter from 911 suggestion, I have a copy of the letter that states that they would probably be happier if we made it all, the 3 addresses, Clark Street,
Who said this?
911. Steve Hood,
Taking over yours.
I got a letter right here. It would be, it would
thought
be,
they
it
had-
would
They
be.
said that it's a reference to him disputing.
Having you started Clark Street at the intersection of Bruce Street and changed all 3 addresses, it would be more palatable.
Correct. He was
Yeah.
saying that he doesn't agree with the street coming out to somewhere between the driveways
Right?
and
They're
not
making the
coming
whole
out. So
thing,
he was saying, if
making
you're
the whole
gonna
thing.
make it more palatable, if you're gonna change it all to Clark
See,
Street.
this is the very reason why we're here tonight.
What's
We're
that?
objecting to a slippery slope that's gonna happen, that driveway, that private property becomes a village street.
Never gonna become a village street.
You're right, it's never gonna become.
Anyone
No,
here
definitely
that
right.
has a
You're 100%
private
right.
driveway and they make it into a street,
We're
you
not
better
gonna-
be
we're-
aware,
we're
that's
not
not
gonna-
true.
we're not gonna
Mayors
make it-
know,
we're not gonna
you're an
make it into-
educated man,
We're
you
not
know
gonna,
better.
we're not gonna make it.
Mrs.
into a street.
O'Leary, you have a driveway,
We're not
I
gonna
wanna
make
make
it-
it a street.
We're not gonna
I
make it
wanna
a
borrow
street.
it.
It's not going to happen to become a street.
Well, what's it gonna become?
I'll figure out a way
It's
that we can
Bruce Street
legally
on the
word
maps for
everything that
70
no one will
years,
have a
Bruce
problem.
Street.
We will figure it out. We will
Not
talk.
call, well, if you're gonna buy it, call it a street, then the village has to buy that property, from Brian, myself, and whomever. You can't just take someone's private driveway and call it a street.
We're not taking anybody's vacation.
Yes, you are, it was suggested
Okay,
to call
okay,
it Clark
fine.
Street,
All right,
and
you
it
know,
won't
I'm not
happen.
gonna argue this now.
Well, it's not,
gonna-
I'm gonna argue with you.
Fine, go ahead.
And anyone here that has a driveway or a private road, you think, you're the mayor, you can come in
No.
and make their private driveway a street.
We're
You
not-
cannot,
We're
it's
not
privately
making it a
owned.
street. We're not making it.
Unless the
That's right.
village wants to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy it and make it a street. It's not a street,
Okay,
it's a private driveway.
okay,
And that's an insult to everyone here.
You are an insult.
okay. All right, that's it.
Good to know, thank you.
To know what?
That I'm an insult, I didn't, all I did was buy a
That's your
house.
driveway?
You didn't buy a house.
I don't know if you can do that.
You upset this gentleman here that owns
All right, we're
houses.
gonna,
Ma'am,
Matt, we're gonna
Let's
talk, we're
be
gonna talk to the
adults.
attorney.
Please, could you
We'll-
please
we'll-
stop?
We'll straighten it out, we're gonna talk to the
Thank
attorney,
you.
we'll straighten it
Sorry.
out. Okay.
Oh, how about the speeding? Does anybody else want?
Anybody else wanna say anything?
I have a question, I'm looking for clarification. When we were talking about earlier about the trail for the snowmobile coming in, I may have missed it, so I'm hoping that you can clarify whether or not the village has permitted the, on the sidewalk on West Street.
We said we would, but barring that there would be no issues with, and property owners and insurance, for liability. And Dave Bertha came and said there wouldn't be any issues with liability.
Okay.
So as far as we're concerned, that's okay. All the property-
We've gotta wait until they get us all the
All the property
information
owners.
from the property.
But as far as the
owners.
bill, as far as the board is, we don't have an issue with it.
And that's to designate it as a trail, I'm sorry, is it to designate it as a trail? The point I'm trying to get to is snowmobiles are allowed to traverse the public highway. Is that correct?
It's gonna be off to the.
Yeah,
It's gonna be off
It's
to
not
the,
down
off
the
to,
highway.
it's not gonna be down the
That's
middle
what
of
I
the
mean.
street, but
It's
it's
just
gonna
like
be
with
on
the
the side,
towers,
yes, yes.
they can use the shoulders, but
The
they
shoulders,
can't.
Not,
not
not
the-
with traffic, right?
Yeah,
Yes, so they wouldn't be on,
Okay.
your first one would, on the sidewalk, they're not on the
they're
sidewalk.
gonna be on the,
The one section there.
Yeah, that one section on the sidewalk, yes.
But, yeah,
Okay.
out of traffic.
Anybody else wanna have a moment for public hearing, so if not, we can go on to our next thing? Thank you. Sorry. The next thing, department head, Bill Brown. Oh, abstract, I'm sorry. The abstract, everybody had a chance to read the abstract? Second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. It's an easy read. I know. Bill Brown, please.
I actually don't have anything to ask for tonight.
Hooray.
There was no dark print, that's always a good sign.
Just a couple of updates on some different projects. At the wastewater treatment plant, the grit screw is completed and closed out. And we're working with DASNY to submit the reimbursement for the $50,000 grant that Senator Bonasek assisted with the village. And phone continues to be an issue that we're trying to come up with an answer to. Close remain high, it has been the right direction. The clarifiers and CBUD building containment basins are two projects that we budgeted money for this year in the wastewater treatment plant budget. The containment basins, we've got some paint that's breaking down and needs to be repaired. That is a city expense. The clarifiers are equipment that's been in place since the plant's original construction in the late 70s, and funding for moving forward with that project. So we had to work with DPW and confirm what our scope is gonna be, to prepare the slope and, rehabilitate that street. So, the last couple are, just kind of updates for the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Steve?
Evening. You got my report?
Yep.
I will give this to you. Black and white copy. That is the update to the update of all hazards plan. I don't know if you saw my email earlier. Basically, December 3rd, you adopted did the 5-year update of the all hazards plan. Essentially, that update was my CRS report that I completed last January. So, since we just adopted that on December 3rd, and I have to update the all hazards plan for CRS due in by the end of February, I basically updated that plan. I just wanted to go through very quickly and just kind of highlight what the changes are. They're highlighted in your packets. On page 1, it just explains what I just explained in fewer words. On page 2, in that chart, added in the July 25th, 18 flash flood that we had. We had ponding on Delaware Street, some runoff up from Prospect and Craft, and the stream wall failure up by where the Eastbrook stream gauge is. And then August 17th, of course, we had some flooding in the lowest areas on the fairgrounds requiring some evacuation. So those were the two events. On page 5, we figured out that we didn't add in my 4 hours of erosion and sediment control training. So that's in that. Page 6, soil and water, did a couple of outdoor expo events. So that's public outreach. Under prevention, we adopted the West Branch LFA in January of 18 and the tributaries LFA in January of 18 as well. Some property protections, some Beers Brook Road, it really doesn't have to do with the village, but we got it in there anyway. There was some great control done there. South Street Stream Bank Stabilization Project, tried to kick it off in 2018, didn't quite get there, so it's planned for construction in 2019. The Walton Tributary Stream Grade Control Project, that's planned for 2019, 2020, and we're in the process of, those are one of the soil and water funded projects, and we're in the process of identifying specifically which ones we're gonna do and getting those designed. Then down at the bottom, Water Street, that kicked off in September, which, if I had to guess, we're approaching about halfway done down there in terms of getting soil removed. The culvert's done and in place, waiting for probably another couple, it can be backfilled now, but can't be driven on for another couple of weeks, so there's no huge hurry to get it backfilled, but I would expect end of this month, beginning of February, to be backfilled and passable again. So, anyway, back to this, soil and water, started a tracer rock gravel movement study on East Brook. It's kind of neat, they actually go down into the brook and they take rocks of all different sizes, take it back to the office, drill holes in them and put little transmitting units in there, epoxy them in and take them out and put them right back where they found them. And then after a high water event, they go out and wade through the river and see if they can figure out where they went. So it's kind of a neat thing. We had, actually had a presentation on that, I think, two months ago at the Flood Commission, so it's kind of interesting. Water Street is mentioned again there on page 9 in that chart. Number 6 on that chart, the flood proofing feasibility studies got started this year, in 2018. Completed in February of 18, the local comprehensive emergency management plan. That's on page 10 of that document. Page 11 of that document, of course, December 3rd, we adopted the all-hazard update. 1.1, we're currently in the buyout process and relocation scheduled for braking motors. We're hoping to have it done in 2018. Reasons beyond our control that didn't happen, so we're shooting for this year, 2019. We're pursuing CWC funding to complete the replacement of the culvert to a bridge down next to Kraft. That is underway. Getting the numbers together to get an application submitted to CWC. We're going to try to fund that through CWC because the state won't budge from where they are in their schedule, so we're trying to move it along. And stream bed stabilization projects on the tributaries east, west, and Third Brooks, soil and waters. I believe they've already secured landowner releases, and they're out surveying now, so they're getting those projects designed. And that's basically the update to that document. I just wanted to take the time to go through it because it's been really kind of neat to watch. We 2012, 13, whatever it was, we adopted an all hazards plan. There was essentially this format, and it had a whole bunch of wish lists. This is what we want to accomplish. In the last 2 years of doing this update, we're checking the boxes and we're moving along. So this plan is not stagnant by any stretch. A lot of people sat down in a room together, got public input, all that other stuff, and put together a plan. This is what we got to do to address the hazards that we face in our village, and slowly but surely, we're checking the boxes and making progress on that. So I think it's a good thing. Really.
Yes, it is, very good.
Do a quick question?
Sure.
When you talk all hazard, and I'm just watching news, I mean, we're hardly California type terrain or atmosphere.
Right.
But is there any communities in the area that plan for like forest fire stuff?
Well, just as it says, all hazards, it addresses.
That's what they call
that. Yeah, it addresses all hazards, and basically, in developing the original plan, we identified what kind of hazards that we face, and then we kind of put them in an order of importance.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know, was it last year, 2017 maybe, I know the fire department got called out to a couple of brush fires that could have gotten a whole lot uglier, if they
Well, it
were
seemed
caught in
like
time,
there's
so.
more red flag, weather warning, whatever they call it, when it's like, there's a lot of kindling out there and stuff.
Didn't have to worry about this last summer. But yeah, there's, all of that has been thought of.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Any other questions?
Nope, thank you very
All right.
much.
Steve, thanks.
Going away.
Chief?
See if this actually works.
That's no good, you have to go back to place.
Short and sweet. There's some reports the public, if they decide they need, including our annual. Sorry that you guys didn't get those, I'm sure. Rich tried a couple different things and things did not seem to want to go. And I'd like to start out, if I could, Mary, my presentation.
Yeah.
Babcock, and I don't think you can come up with please. So, on August 2nd of last year, these two officers were on duty, and they received a call to assist Walton EMS with a two-car accident. When they arrived on scene, they realized that it was a serious two-car accident. And just so, what a lot of people I don't think about with our EMS and our fire and our police, when they get up to that car, this is a kid they know, and he is hurt bad, really bad. So they had to make a decision whether or not to apply a tourniquet. And any of you who know anything about tourniquets, it is a serious decision. You can cause more damage than you can help. And because of some of the training that they've received through basic, etc., and through one of our other police officers, Josh Williamson, who is exceptional with the combat medical end of it, they made the decision, and they did. Because of that, it definitely saved the young man's life. And they undoubtedly saved his life. The break was compound, just above the ankle, severed arteries. And because of them, our EMS was there in 8 minutes, which is unbelievable when you're talking about volunteer fire squad. But in those 8 minutes, he would have been gone. So, with that said, if there's ever been a time that a life-saving award was deserved, it's right now. So, these awards, this life-saving pin, not a lot of them floating around. I may know somebody who's got a couple. Also with it comes a plaque, it says presented to Officer Babcock, also one to Officer Dunphy, in sincere appreciation of your first response actions on the evening of August 2nd, 2018, at the scene of a motor vehicle accident in the town of Walton. Your quick thinking and rapid use of a tourniquet resulted in the life of a young man, motorist, being saved. So, that is a pretty serious award. And just so you're aware also, thanks to Dallas and the Delaware County Firefighters Association, these two young officers were first responders of the year last year. And they did an outstanding presentation at the county level. County business?
Yep.
I don't know if I brought my glasses.
Sorry, we got the link.
Again, I apologize for you guys. No, it's bad, but it isn't that bad. As long as Jody holds it, it'll be all right. You may need it. A quick overview, and I mean quick, of our year. Unbelievably, our arrests were up 137 over last year. This year, as far as we can tell from going back, probably was the most arrests our agencies had to make in a single year. A good portion of that comes from our young officers who have taken the time and their own money, Babcock, to go out and train themselves in areas that have generated a huge impact on highway interdiction, drug interdiction. So they're to definitely be commended for that. The only other thing that I caught that was really a lot different was our calls are actually down a little over 800, which is a good thing, I think. Better people are just tired of calling us. Other than that, pretty much everything remained kind of the same. Tickets were within 50, which is pretty good. And other than that, it's fortunately, hopefully going to level off, and maybe even our arrests will start dropping again. Devin is currently in the process of going through IDC, which is Instructor Development Course up in Delhi. Probably one of the toughest courses a police officer can take, isn't that right, Devin? Yeah. They will make your head swim from the time you get there until the time you leave. Other than that, the only other thing I have is that Otsego County did finally decide to come back and start running an academy. That'll be starting April 2nd, and currently Kaylee would be attending. If the state police don't steal her. And at some point in the next month or so, I may also be approaching the board concerning a couple of people that would be interested in being cadets.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, nothing.
Awesome.
Anything for me?
No, nothing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good job. Butch?
How come you didn't say anything?
And what you eat every time you go out and salt your salmon.
There you go.
Everyone,
Good evening.
got the report okay?
Yep.
Try not to have any mistakes in this time.
That's good.
Everything's been pretty good, the snow is actually kind of held off.
I like the one you said next to the bottom, is scare away the snow.
It's been out there for a while. It's working so far.
It works so well, it works so well.
It's working great.
They're gonna say you gotta scare the rain off now.
We did get the bridge lights done.
Yeah, the bridge lights are good.
Thank you.
It's funny, I saw on Facebook, certain people put in about the lights don't look good, the bike did it, but then when the lights were done, I didn't see anyone say, no one, the same person didn't come back and say, hey, guess what, the lights been fixed, everything looks great. He said, that's good, you know.
It's the nature of Facebook, I think.
I'll put the good stuff on there, yeah, but thank you, it looks good. Really brightens up the bridge when you go over it,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can notice it
Nice.
early.
Nice. Just have, we budgeted some money to potentially start replacing the gas heaters at the DPW shop. The wood furnace is on borrowed time right now, expectancy wise, and it's only a source of heat, there's no backup source or nothing, so. We did budget for some heater repairs, there's 3 total. We have enough money budgeted to do 2 of them at this time. So I'm asking permission to go ahead and do that.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Alright.
Opposed? Okay.
You need bids and all that stuff, or do you get?
No, it's contract.
It's contract, change,
Great.
yeah.
Great.
And just throwing it out there for the next budget, the roof at the shop is getting pretty, been leaking for a while. We tried a number of attempts to seal it up, and it is not sealing, it's just getting worse. So we're gonna try to, maybe this year budget wise, try to do something.
You have, I've been here for a while, I see you guys always patching, so, yeah, we'll have to look at it for the budget. Okay,
And that's it.
thank you, Butch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jason?
I've got a couple things. Hi. Plant seems to be running well. We did get hit last week, something from, we're assuming grass. You guys got Gmails?
Yep.
Still going through that right now. We have been able to keep it under permit. But hopefully it passes sooner than later because it is quite a process and it's quite a lot to deal with, so.
Quite expensive too.
It's a lot of expense, yes. We've talked numerous times about rags. I would like the board to authorize Jody to send out targeted mailings to certain spots in the village, that we think could possibly have a lot of wipes coming from them, medical facilities, things of that nature. And then maybe we can
Cut back on that.
cut back on that, hopefully, or at least just make an attempt.
Didn't we do that once before, Judy?
Paper.
We did for the Garden Street
That's
pump
what I thought.
station.
Yeah.
And when we had the blockage up on Prospect Avenue, we sent them into that area too.
We'll work with it, figure out
Who should be directed?
who should be directed to. Dave and I talked before the meeting, he's got some ideas, so just need the board to authorize you to go ahead and.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay.
I do have 2 purchases this month. We're requesting that the board purchase a power actuator from Turnkey Controls for the amount of $1,350 plus shipping. We do have money in the budget for this. It's for the aeration blowers, it'll be a shelf unit.
Need a motion on that one?
So moved.
Second?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
80-20 split.
Yeah.
The second is, we have this budgeted, it's a C-Bud inflow pump. We have $13,842 budgeted. I'm waiting on a quote back for that. Last year, we put one of these in as well, and it took forever to get one, so I'm asking for the village to approve that now so I can get going on and hopefully get it installed before the end of the budget year. That is a 100% city cost.
Need a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
That's all I have.
Excellent.
I got some reports here if anyone would like them as well.
Okay, thank you.
But it'll be interesting to see if with this targeted mailing, if it really does, you know.
Yeah,
Try it.
Can't hurt.
Worth a shot.
Yeah. At least you can say we're trying something, right?
Trustee reports, Dave, we will start with you.
The Theater Preservation Group met on December 11th. They're using John Hoffman to do some of the electrical work as a money saver that needed to be upgraded. They will be pulling together, so I sent people an email, some budget requests. They're having a real problem with the main front doors. They're literally rotting on the bottom, so they're trying to come up with a way to switch some doors around and get the work done at a bit of a cost savings, because you don't want to pay for the doors to be replaced. Basically, that's it.
Thank you.
They're meeting again tomorrow at 4:30.
Steve, anything to you?
Just what Butch was doing there with this roof, we've been looking into that. And the furnace, they're being going out to the wood furnace. The other is, I've had a few people ask me about the skating rink, getting that filled and getting it going. I said,
You need
we're
cold weather going there for a
we're
while,
working with
right?
Mother Nature on that
Yeah.
one. I think maybe if the weather stays cold, maybe towards the end of the week, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it'll probably thaw again next week, so.
Well, I see the 30s and 40s in the forecast.
I know, that's no good.
Yeah. Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Teresa, you have anything?
No, I think-
Okay. Mayor's report, I really have nothing, I know people are gonna ask me, but as far as the bowling alley complex, we have contracts being worked on now with individuals. We can't go into any more detail, but it's looking very, very, very good, the best yet. So we're moving in a very good direction, so I spoke to the owner of, next to, oh boy, what town? The bakery, Webb's, next to Webb's. Definitely gonna be a Italian bakery, bagels, Italian bread, and Italian pastries. It'll be the only one within 70 miles, so that's good. This spring. All of us are trying to lose weight, it's gonna be tough.
Lose weight first. Prepare yourself.
So that's good. Water Street's going really well. We got a lot going on down there. I have a person that's interested in Sheffield Estates to do the condos again, that has apparently finances are not a problem. So there's a lot of good things going on. So I just wanna keep everybody, whenever I can say more, I'll let you know about it, okay? Number 6, the annual Delaware County Planning Advisory Service. You need to approve that, right? Need a motion to close? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 2019 election polling place, Jody?
Yeah, it's this time of year, we gotta set the polling place and the time of the election. So I propose again that we have it here, and it would be from noon until 9 PM on March 19th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the bid award for 42 Harvey.
We received one bid for the last foreclosure property, and it was for $3,000. You guys wanna accept the bid?
Make a motion to accept the bid.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
That's all I have.
And then we need to go into executive session for personnel, not personnel, negotiations. So,
I
yes,
have a question. Number 6, the planning advisory service, is that the contract with Delaware County Planning for $3,000
yes,
that you're
yes,
approving?
yes, 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 yes. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Have a pleasant day. Need a motion to go into executive session. All in favor? Aye.